Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Diane, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And welcome. We have a few announcements. We are on Patreon, and we would really like to see you over there. We're having a lot of fun, and we have extra ad-free episodes. We have mini podcasts by Dianne and I each on various topics. We have monthly Zoom hangouts. And I just want to give a welcome to our latest friends, Eden, Pam, Melitza, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, I'm reading through. Let's see, Karen. Anyway, welcome to all of our friends, and we hope to see you over there. So, sorry, scroll down into the show notes, and you'll find the link there, and you can look at the different tiers and all the benefits that are there, and choose one that's right for you. And then we are also hosting our ongoing giveaway of people who leave reviews around the internet. And people are doing it. People are sending in their screenshots. So don't be shy. You can send, write a review or give stars or do whatever you can do on your app, and take a screenshot, send it over to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com, and along with your address, and we'll send you a little goodie bag of like fun podcast stickers and thank you for nursing in public cards that you can spread around your little community. And I think that's all.
We got to meet one of our patrons in Cleveland.
Oh yeah,
that was fantastic.
We met Sarah. We hung out with her for like the whole time, and it was really fun to just see like-minded people and hang out with them. And
I know,
these people, thank God, all these people are so cool so far.
We have some cool patrons.
Yeah, we do.
We do have some cool patrons. So so that was fun to be able to meet Sarah and hang out with her and meet her babe and her husband.
Totally.
So that was really fun. Yeah.
And another note on our website, badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, we have over 400 episodes. So if you want to go over there and scroll through the episodes, or you can search in the search bar for topics that you are looking for, and you can scroll down and enter your email address, and we'll send you podcast episodes every week straight to your inbox. And also let us know if you need any updated episodes or any topics that you haven't seen that you need.
Yeah.
I also would like to talk about, as you know, in the past couple of episodes, I've been trying to read some messages that I get in Instagram or emails or something that either just have comments or questions. And I thought we could read a few of those. We have one is, you are my number one go-to source on all things breastfeeding. What are y'all's thoughts on Colostrum collection? And we love Colostrum collection. And we actually have an episode on this that we would love for everybody to listen to.
When you first got the word colostrum out of your mouth, I thought you were going to say, like, have you seen those ads that are coming up on like Instagram and stuff like that for people that are just like taking colostrum pills?
Oh my God, what? No.
Yeah, like people that are taking colostrum, like, because it's so great for like hair and skin. But I don't think it's human.
Probably not. Oh, just like cow colostrum or something?
Probably.
Oh, lovely.
I know. That's what I thought you were going to say at first. But no. So Colostrum collection is amazing. So if you're pregnant and you're wondering like, what the heck are we talking about? We do have an episode on this, but if you cannot start collecting your colostrum until about 36 weeks. Like twice a day, you could express a little colostrum, collect it, put it in your freezer, save it for your baby for when your baby's born. And we go into more detail in the episode, obviously. I'll link it in the show notes, but it is a really great thing just in case your baby needs to be supplemented. If your baby has low blood sugar, if your baby is separated from you, If your baby's just sleepy and not eating well, you can just slip them a little bit of that colostrum. There's a lot that you can do with it. Slip it to them like it's some kind of illegal
like roofie
substance.
Or something. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool thing. So we're big on that.
Yes. Okay. And then another message says, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story. I stumbled upon your podcast tonight searching for breastfeeding while pregnant. I had 2 miscarriages since my first kiddo, 2 years old, still nursing, and have, of course, had so many people, not my doctor, thankfully, tell me not to do it, and it could risk my pregnancy. And of course, so many people roll their eyes hearing or seeing me still nurse my son. I've had a dream of tandem nursing for so long, and your podcast gave me so much hope and inspiration. Thank you. Thank you.
I love that.
I know. I love that her doctor is not somebody who is like telling her that her nursing her toddler is causing these miscarriages, because that's just not true.
It's not true.
So I love hearing doctors that actually know what they're talking about.
It's fantastic.
All right. And then one last one. I just wanted to say, first, thank you both for doing what you do. It's really been a blessing and extremely helpful for myself and my 21-month-old who's still breastfeeding successfully and has always been a feed-on-demand baby, and I'm proud of that. My baby has to have her front teeth removed, supposedly due to them rotting away from breast milk. I'm not stopping anytime soon, but have you guys heard of this? And can you expound on it? Thank you. Yeah, and this is a common concern that people have. They say that breast milk, they say that breast milk is causing their baby's teeth to rot out, and then the dentist will tell them this too. And that's not happening because of the breast milk.
No.
And this reminds me that we should do an updated episode on cavities.
We should.
Because there is, so much misinformation around this. And to tell somebody that their baby's teeth are so decayed that they have to have them removed, and it's because of the breast milk, like what? And that's just not, we know that that's not true. And unfortunately, teeth do decay. And this seems to be a genetic thing that happens in families and with babies. But no, it is not your breast milk that's rotting away the teeth. How would that happen? That is that lovely quote from Dr. Gordon that I love, that I heard him say when he was speaking at a conference. We would be a dead branch on the evolutionary tree if human milk rotted human teeth.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so stay tuned for that episode on cavities.
Wasn't there a study or something done? I'll have to look it up for the episode. But wasn't there a study or something that was done that they put human teeth into breast milk?
Oh, yeah.
And into formula? And it decayed more from the formula, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's actually protective, obviously. Breast milk is designed for your baby. It's designed by your body for your baby. So there's going to be actual protective factors in that breast milk with the development of teeth, not the opposite.
And the American Dental Association promotes breastfeeding. So for dentists to say that, they're actually going against their own
so does the American
design.
Academy of Pediatrics. And you still hear pediatricians all the time talking about how breast milk isn't sufficient and all this crap.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's like, do you know what you're supposed to be promoting?
Right.
Again, but they don't see that, right? They don't see that breastfeeding over the age of 1, over the age of 6 months when babies actually have teeth. They don't see it. And it's not something that they come across. So if they see, decaying teeth, they're like, oh, that must be the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And Diane has our review of the week.
Oh, I forgot about that. I mean, I pulled it up. I've got it, but I just forgot that I needed to talk about it. I was like, oh, yeah, look, we've got patrons. We've got all this stuff. Okay, so I have been exclusively and on-demand feeding for now my 4-month-old. It's the best. I'm so grateful for the extensive list of topics covered in the podcast. I love the breastfeeding world so much that I'm now pursuing my IBCLC while home with my babe. Not only does the podcast help my own breastfeeding journey, but it also has been, it has also been supplemental to my education and makes it easier to remember all the fun stories that go along with it. One of my favorite toppings was nursing in public. After listening to that episode, my partner and I sat down and discussed what he and I would say if I ever was approached in a negative way. We both feel more confident and better prepared because of our conversation. I hope this podcast continues to empower other breastfeeding mamas the way it has me. Thank you. I love that.
That's awesome.
How cool is that? I know. Yeah. Well, I love, first of all, that she's pursuing IBCLC. Thank you. We need you. Anybody who wants to pursue that and you have questions, you can absolutely reach out to me. I can help you with that. I can, help to guide you a little bit if that's something that you're thinking about. So I love that she's doing that. But I also love that, the nursing in public episodes, those are meant for you guys to feel more confident and more empowered. And I love that she and her partner sat and had a conversation about, like, what would we do? What would we do if somebody approached me while I was nursing our baby in public? Would we say something? Would we keep it quiet? Would we move? What would we do? Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing to do, is to kind of play out those scenarios.
Yeah. It does. That helps you feel more prepared.
Yes, absolutely. More prepared, more confident, more empowered. So that was really great. Thank you for leaving that for us. And congratulations on your 4-month-old baby and that breastfeeding on demand. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Love
That's
it.
Sort of like what we're going to talk about, right?
I know. And we're going to talk about schedules and stuff. And this came up recently with a client that I had. We were talking about schedules because somebody had come up to her and said, how are things going with the baby? And her baby's about 6 to 8 weeks now. And she was, they were talking about the baby, and the person said, well, what kind of schedule is he on? And she was like, schedule? He's not on any kind of schedule. So I thought it would be a good thing to talk about, because then she was worried, like, should I get him on a schedule? Should I not have him on a schedule? How do I do that? How do I get a schedule and pump? What does the schedule entail? Is it just a feeding schedule? Is it a sleep schedule? Is it like, what happens? It can be pretty overwhelming, I think, to try to think about, first of all, having yourself on a routine, mm-hmm. and then trying to get your baby on a routine as well.
Right. And what schedule versus routine?
Right.
Kind of talking about what that means.
What that looks like. And I know people, and everybody does this a little bit differently. And I really feel like having babies on a schedule, a lot of it depends on your personality and your baby's personality. Mm-hmm. And some people are very much like, I need to have everything very routine, very scheduled, very, just knowing what to expect every minute of the day, which can be really hard with babies. But that's how some people's personalities are. And I can speak for myself and say that my personality is definitely not like that. I am more like kind of go with the flow. When my babies were little, I remember thinking about, like, do I have to have them on a schedule? Do I not? Like, what do I do? And reading somewhere that babies just kind of evolve to their own schedule as time goes on. So that's kind of what I left my babies to do. I didn't really actively try to put them on a routine or a schedule. Mm-hmm. I kind of let things evolve on their own. What did you end up doing with yours?
Yeah, I feel like I'm somebody who really likes routine, but I don't do well with schedules. Mm. So like for me, in my mind, a schedule is like, these are things that have to happen at certain times of the day. And you have to work to make those things happen at that time of the day. And a routine to me is just kind of like, we're doing the same thing, whatever it is, however it plays out, however we fall into this, we do the same thing every day in the same order, we kind of know what to expect mm-hmm. throughout the day. And so I really, really like routines. I don't like working to make a schedule. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
because I feel like that's one of the things that I feel like if you're trying to get like schedules, like feeding on a schedule, sleeping on a schedule, like these are things where you're really, especially sleeping, trying to get your baby to sleep on a schedule, like you're really kind of getting into like sleep training and because your baby doesn't care. Your baby doesn't care what you want them to do. They can only do what they can do, you know? They can only do what they can do. They can only like, okay, so I interviewed Rebecca Meeke a couple of days ago where we were talking about how sleep develops in newborns and how, you know, how that plays out. And that episode will be up soon. And so you'll love it. And so we were talking about how like there's not you like when you have a newborn, there's nothing you can do really to like play with their sleep. Like they're still figuring out how to even do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's still developing. They're still kind of on like newborns kind of waking frequently. Like there's really nothing you can do about that. And if you go to extreme lengths and you do try to do things about that, I mean, it's not considered safe to do. I don't know. What was I talking about?
No, well, first of all, I want to say for anybody who's might be a new listener, Rebecca Meeke is a great sleep consultant. She's amazing.
She's a sleep consultant who is against kind of like cried out and these extreme ways of sleep training. She does not support those. I worked with her with a little bit with Exley, but a lot with Jack when after Exley was born, actually. And so I have personal experience working with her and she is fantastic. So you will hear us refer to her a lot and you will hear her on the podcast once a year or so. We have her on and talk about, you know, various things. Well, sleep.
Yeah. She's a wealth of knowledge.
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to sleep and babies. And what was I getting at with that? Oh, and babies also, we did an episode not that long ago talking about sleep in the 4th trimester. And babies do not have any kind of circadian rhythm when they are born. They just don't. They don't know. And a lot of people are like, my baby's got their days and nights mixed up. You hear that all the time. My baby's got their days and nights confused. Babies have no idea what day and night is. Like they have no circadian rhythm. They don't know what daytime is. They don't know what nighttime is. They're just sleeping all the time. And then you run into these situations where people say, don't wake a sleeping baby. So then I have these poor new parents are like, do I wake my baby to get them on a routine and on a schedule? Do I not wake them? Do I let them sleep? What happens? What should I do? I just don't know what to do. And babies, even if I'm like, but even if you like
so much, I know every time I want to say something, I want to say 20 things.
I know my brain is like working faster than my mouth is, but if you look up like schedules and things like that, most places that you read will agree that babies are not schedule worthy, or really it isn't even worth trying to get them on any kind of schedule for like several months, for the first several months of their life. They're not doing anything consistently. They're kind of all over the place. And that's where I was with my client that I had a couple weeks ago. We were talking about, well, what does the baby do? Like, what is it? What is your day like? Like, what is your day like? Maybe we can put some kind of routine or consistency into your day, depending on what it's like. And it really was like the baby would sometimes eat at every 2 hours, but sometimes eat every 3 hours. Baby would sometimes wake up really early in the morning and go back to sleep, and sometimes sleep a little bit later and not go back to sleep. Like there was no consistency there. And it was like, okay, then it's really hard to kind of make any kind of schedule or routine when there is no consistency.
Because and that's what life with a newborn is basically, because they're kind of all over the place. But I mean, there still are things that you can, because trying to create this schedule, trying to fit this baby into your schedule isn't going to work. This is just going to cause you to bang your head against the wall. But when you're trying to create some sort of a routine, you're trying to create some sort of consistency throughout your day, you want to be just paying attention to your baby, paying attention to what your baby does. What do they do when they seem tired? You know, if they do seem tired and you see that they're starting to be tired, you say, okay, maybe this is time where we'll change their diaper. Make sure they're going to sleep with a dry diaper. You know, then you can maybe go over to the couch and nurse them on the couch. And once they're all the way asleep, maybe you try to put them down. That probably won't work, but you can try if you want. They're going to want a contact nap. That's just what they do. And you can, so if you're paying attention to your baby and you're deciding that like throughout the day, when your baby's doing certain things, that you're going to do certain things in response, that can create a routine. Just like as they start to get a little bit older, if you notice that your baby's getting tired, then this is one of the things that Rebecca Miki really did for my family is we were, you know, when it was time for, you know, when we wanted it to be time for Jack to be going to sleep or starting to get ready for sleep, we would turn all the lights down. We would get a book out. We would walk up and down the hallway a few times and kind of, you know, we would do the same thing every night to where like, it's really like Pavlov's dog, right? Like so then as time went on, when we turned the lights down, his body would start to relax because we had just kind of ingrained that in us as that was what was going to happen. And so I feel like if you're paying attention to your baby and you're responding to your baby in consistent, you know, ways each time, and you're setting up sort of things that you wanted, like when we had babies, my husband is a writer. We knew that books would be a big part of our house. So we knew that there would be reading before we went to bed. And, you know, there's these things that probably maybe you did as a kid, or maybe you just think are really nice to do. You're going to start implementing these things into your day. And then you have a routine. You know, you're not fighting for it. You're not fighting against your baby. You're not like, oh, I don't want you to go to sleep right now. I don't want you to wake up early. So I'm just going to poke you for the next hour so that you don't fall asleep, you know, to try to get you to sleep later or whatever. That's always people's thing is like, let's keep them up later to try to get them to sleep later, and just stop right now, because that does not work. They sleep less when they are tired. It's weird. If you miss that kind of, this is a tangent, but if you miss that kind of window of them being tired and falling asleep and now they're overtired, they're not going to sleep longer. They're going to sleep less. So if you're back to what I was saying, if you are following your baby and kind of seeing what they're doing, seeing what they need, and of course, it's a guessing game when they're newborns, because who knows? Nobody knows when they have a newborn what the hell the newborn needs, because it's, you know, you're getting to know each other. Like, are you hungry? Do you need a diaper change? Are the lights too bright? Or did something startle you? Like, you don't know. You're trying to figure it out. So if you feel like in those newborn days, like you don't have a routine, like you should have some sort of order, don't worry. That's what those days are. They're just absolute, you know, shit
chaos.
Shows. They just are. But then as you get a little bit more, you know, you get to know your baby a little bit, you get to know, you know, kind of the things that need to be done around the house, and you're figuring out where to fit those in. And like, okay, I know that every day, it seems to be like every day around 1:00, my baby is extremely upset and fussy and overtired. So then maybe you're going to start to be like around noon, I feel like I need to catch this tiredness before it gets out of control. And you're going to, you know, like I said, you know, I don't know, sit in a rocking chair or, you know, feed the baby and try to help them to sleep. Instead of the opposite, trying to get them on some sort of sleep schedule, because that's not going to happen. But you can find a routine by watching your baby and seeing what they need, because they're not going to need extremely different things from Tuesday to Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Like, they are really going to be like, they're going to be sleeping and eating. That's what they do. That's all newborns do. I mean, if we're, older babies do a little bit more, but mostly they're just eating and sleeping. And you're just sort of, that's what you're doing. You're feeding a baby and putting them to sleep over and over and over and over and over again. And you'll find a routine. It'll just come about.
Now, evening routines can be super helpful. And again, sometimes you can't start these until the baby is a little bit older. When I say a little bit older, I mean after 2 months, where you can get into a routine of pajamas, bath, pajamas, book, swaddle, or sleep sack, or neither one of those things. If you don't do that, just whatever you do to get your baby ready for nighttime, so that regular routine is something that they can count on, and something that they know, okay, and they start to learn, now it's bedtime. And that can be really helpful.
Yeah.
But it can't be something that, you can't be doing that when your baby's 3 weeks old, because it's just not.
Yeah, maybe not 3 weeks old, but maybe you can do that before you think your baby knows what's going on, because that helps you too. It can help you, you can read to your baby. Your baby doesn't know what the hell you're saying, but you can still work that into your evening if that's something that, that's really something that I wish I had done. I wish that I had just kind of created these, you just pull them out of your ass, guys. You just okay, here's 3 things that we're going to do every evening to kind of introduce, that it's the end of the day, and just start doing them. Pull out a book, read the book, then rock in the rocking chair, and then, pace in the hallway. Or, I mean, we did a lot of pacing in the hallway just because, I don't know. That's what I don't know. We just did that. So we did it, and that's just what we did. And you can start doing that before you think that your baby gets it, because first of all, it's going to help you a lot. It's going to help you to have that, and then it's just going to become this norm in your house. And it's really going to be helpful. As your baby gets older, your baby's not going to know. They're just born into this routine. It's okay, here's what we do. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that people ask a lot is, if I'm feeding my baby on demand, which, there's really no set feeding schedule when you're feeding your baby on demand. And we always encourage you to feed your baby on demand, because that's great for your milk supply. It's great for your baby's weight gain. It's just the way it's meant to be done. But there is no set schedule with that. So sometimes people will be like, how do I pump? I'm trying to create a stash for returning to work. How do I pump when my baby's feeding on demand? Now, there's a couple things that you can do. So usually I always recommend, now your milk supply is highest in the mornings, and supply will kind of regulate and stuff throughout the day, but it is highest in the morning. And that is because prolactin, which is the hormone that makes your milk supply makes it higher, is highest overnight. Your prolactin follows a circadian rhythm. So it is higher overnight. So a lot of times people find that in the morning, they wake up, they're more full. That is really, really common. It's very normal. And we like to try to use that to our advantage. So I would suggest feed the baby in the morning like you do, whether it be first thing in the morning, whether it be 4 or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever first thing in the morning is for your baby. And then pump right after that. Because right after they feed, pump, because that is the best time of the day to pump. You are probably going to yield more milk during that session because you're more full in the morning. So that is always the best time. You can always pump right after a feeding. People are like, well, what if I pump and then my baby needs to eat? Well, you can always put your baby on, because pumping does not take all the milk out of the breast. And it can be very, very confusing and very it's so concrete to look at what you've pumped, right? It's so visual that when you're pumping and no more milk is coming out of the breast, it's very easy to go, oh, I must be empty. There's no more milk in the breast because nothing else is coming out. When in actuality, you still have milk in the breast. So you can actually feed your baby. If you pump and your baby is hungry half an hour later, you can actually feed your baby. There is no problem with that. And it probably will just increase your milk supply because all it is more stimulation, and more stimulation increases your milk supply. So it's perfectly safe to do that. You can pump whenever you want to pump. If it's, if you're trying to get on a specific pumping routine, but you feed your baby on demand, then just kind of pump after your baby feeds, because that is usually the best time to do that. Now, one of the other things is if you are a working parent and you are getting ready to go back to work and your baby's going to like a daycare, or your baby's going to be, even if your baby is home with a nanny or a sitter, or you're dropping your baby off at your parents' house or whatever, you're going to get into more of a schedule. So if you're not yet on a schedule and you really want to be, if you're like, I have to get onto some kind of a schedule because my baby's going to be, a daycare, whatever, your baby's automatically going to get into some kind of schedule or routine when you start going back to work, because you are going to be, breastfeeding the baby first thing in the morning before they go, before you go to work. You're going to be leaving bottles for them and being pretty specific about what time you want them to be fed. So babies tend to get on more of a routine and more of a schedule when you do have to go back to work. And some people like to practice that as they're getting ready. And that's okay, because your baby is like, at that point, hopefully a little bit older. I mean, people go back to work pretty early sometimes, but hopefully your baby is going to be a little bit older when you return to work. And when I say older, I mean at least 3 months. And that usually you can do a little bit more of scheduling and, during that time frame after they turn about 3 months old. They tend to get on more of a schedule. Maybe not necessarily a sleep schedule, but more of a schedule throughout the day of feeding and napping when they are doing more of a routine thing like a daycare, especially if you're at a like a regular daycare center. They will absolutely have your baby on some kind of a schedule, because that's just what they do, right? Like they're just, babies eat at the same time.
That structure in that.
Yeah, they definitely need that structure. So that will definitely happen for you. If you don't have something happening right now and you are worried that you need to have that because you are returning to work, don't worry, it'll happen. Your baby will get on some kind of a structured routine with a daycare or with going back to work. Now, as I mentioned before, like a lot of this is personality too. And a lot of it depends on your baby's personality and your personality and what is going to work for you, because some babies, they don't conform well to regular schedules. It just is not something that is in their genetic makeup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the schedule is like external, right? I mean, like we're like, well, we have to go to work, and then we have to do this. And then I need 8 hours of sleep at night. And so you're just trying to get your baby to do this thing that they're not working on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can feel really frustrating. It can feel really frustrating. It can feel like, do I do a cry it out thing? Do I do what do I do to get my baby to conform?
Right.
And that's really, it can feel really frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, and that's sort of the point, is try to create that routine, and try to less chase a schedule, because it's going to it's like fitting a square peg through a round hole. It's like it's not going to go there.
Right. Right. I know some people, I was never like this. Like I said, I kind of flew by the seat of my pants, but some people are very much like, I can't go out between these times a day because my baby has to nap during this time. And are very, very structured around what they do with their baby. That's fine if that works for you.
Yeah.
That was never something that really worked for me. But again, people are different and babies are different and everything, is different. If that's the way things work for you, then definitely, put that into play. But you will work a little bit harder to get your baby into that structured routine. For sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.